Welcome back to the Bay Area Beat. Today, we're going to be recapping the Niners' 17-13 win over the Seahawks in Seattle to start off the season 1-0. I'm going to be joined by my friend, Austin McDonald, who's a Niner fan. He's part of the faithful. We're going to get right into the game, get into thoughts, recaps. What'd you think, Austin? Starting out the season 1-0, you can't ask for much better than that, but it was definitely a sloppy game.
It was a sloppy game, but you get a win on the road against your division rival. You're always going to take that week one, especially how the game was looking. I feel like the Niners had to pull it out. So I thought it was a great win, although there's a lot to work on, especially on the offensive side, but we'll get into special teams later.
Yeah, we'll save that. Certainly going to be talking a little bit about Jake Moody. I don't want to start after a 1-0 win and be 58 seconds into the podcast already ranting about our awful, mentally unstable kicker. But let's get into the offensive side of the ball first. So I don't know about you. I thought it was an up and down game for Brock. He obviously made that huge throw at the end of the game to Pierce, all that 45-yard dot over Reek Woolen to set them up for the game-winning touchdown. They had the game winner to Jake Tonges, and you can say different things about that throw. I thought when he threw it, it was going to be a pick or it was a throwaway, and somehow Tonges, who made his first career NFL catch on that play, pretty remarkable way to start off your career. And you had the two picks. Tariq Woolen, he had a one-handed pick, but I don't know. I thought it was a little bit of an up and down game. Granted, Kittle left after the first quarter. Obviously, there's no Ayuk. Juwan left around halftime. What did you think of Brock throughout the game?
Well, that first drive, he did come out firing. He was hitting all the receivers, hitting McCaffrey down low. He was getting everyone involved. So that first drive was amazing. It was like an 8-minute drive, 95 yards down the field. And then after that, from rest of the first quarter on to most of the fourth quarter, it didn't look too pretty, to be honest. But that last drive, he came up clutch. When Kittle went down, he lost his safety blanket for a while and started throwing more checkdowns to McCaffrey. But yeah, Tonjes came up clutch with that huge catch. The two interceptions, he just kind of lobbed those up. Those were not too pretty of interceptions.
They're uncharacteristic for Brock, who I think is a pretty smart quarterback. Doesn't usually make those boneheaded drive-ending plays.
Yeah, he was throwing into double and triple coverage. And just off the bat, like when you're looking at the end zone view, looking at Brock and what he's seeing towards the side of the field, he was just forcing throws and kind of lopping those up. So, I mean, was not pretty, but hopefully getting some of those checkdowns to McCaffrey will help him get into rhythm, and hopefully he'll go from there.
CMC, I think, had a game-high 10 targets, the most he's had in a couple years, and if they're able to get CMC kind of going a little bit more, I know he had like 140 scrimmage yards, but to me, it felt like he was not 100%. Like he was still, CMC light, maybe 80% of the guy we saw 2 years ago, but he wasn't exploding. The offensive line wasn't really giving him much room to run. Like he was kind of getting hit behind the line of scrimmage a lot. What did you think about CMC after, barely seeing him last year, him popping up on the injury report 2 days before the season, and, everyone's freaking out. Fantasy football people are all over the country are seeing like, oh, how could we have not known this was happening? What did you think about CMC?
Yeah, I felt like he had a couple great, like 8 to 12 yard runs that got him first downs, and I feel like that'll help his confidence going forward. And it was good for the offensive line. But other than that, like him and Brian Robinson, they weren't really too much of threats in the run game. Also, you got to give credit to Seattle's line too. They have a very underrated front four, and their defense, they have a good defense, especially with Mike McDonald as the head coach there. But yeah, the Niners couldn't get much going on the run game whatsoever. I did like what I saw with him catching the ball, though. I feel like CMC's never been like the true workhorse running back like a Derrick Henry. Like Derrick Henry will just like run down your throat. 20, 30 times a game. CMC needs to have different looks. He needs to run the ball and have some catches. And I think that helps Brock too a lot to know that he has Christian McCaffrey back there.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
maybe we'll see Isaac Rendo get into, might be the fastest player running back on that roster. So he might get a little more playing time, especially if CMC, his calf still tends to, bother him the rest of the time. But I was okay with what CMC saw. I think they'll get better with the run game as the year goes on.
It was still a pretty big workload though for week one, and him, following the calf injury and being limited in practice. I think Orlando, I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners almost like keep him on ice, and essentially knowing how the running back room works and how often these guys are getting hurt. Like, let's not have three guys rotating in a backfield. Let's have him and Brian Robinson get 100% of the work. And if one of those guys goes down, have Garendo waiting in the wings. But I'm excited. I think Garendo is kind of waiting for his opportunity, because we did see him in stretches last year when CMC was hurt and when Jordan Mason was hurt. He was awesome, and he definitely is probably the fastest guy on the team, or at least the fastest guy in that running back room. Trent Williams was the guy that I was a little bit, maybe it was just shaking off the rust. He didn't play in the preseason, but he had the most pressures against him. I think 6 QB pressures, and was the worst guy on the offensive line. And, this is the guy, Trent Williams is who I think the rest of the team is kind of relying on to anchor that line. And the Niners want to put the majority of their runs coming to the left side behind Trent Williams. But he did leave partly through the second quarter with an ankle injury that he came back from. But I don't know. I'm hoping it's just a little bit of rust and not the fact that he's 37 and has been in the league for 15 years. Like, it's an old team already, but the offensive line is already a weak spot. And if our supposed best offensive lineman is lost a step, it's a little concerning to me.
I believe it was the first or second quarter where he kind of got up really, really slowly. Before that point, I think he was fine. But from then on, it did not look like Trent Williams whatsoever. He was kind of getting bullied at the line of scrimmage, and that's just very unlike him. I feel like that could be a reason that they signed Colton McKivitz as well right after that game. Maybe they were in talks with him before. But yeah, Trent did not look too great, allowing all those pressures against the Seahawks. But
it is a good D-line, like you said, and I'm glad you brought up Colton McKivitz, because he did sign a 3-year, $45 million deal on Monday morning right after the game. He played awesome in the game. He only allowed 1 pressure all game. Is really kind of anchored that right side of the line at right tackle. Was a guy I wasn't very confident with the last couple of years. Wasn't a big fan of. I really wanted the Niners to trade up for a Membu in the draft, and that didn't happen. But McKivitz has clearly made some great strides. Maybe, like you said, maybe they do look to move him to left tackle when Trent kind of continues to get up there in age. Last guy I want to talk about on the offense before we head to the defensive side of the ball. What about Ricky Pearsall? He had 4 catches for 108 yards. Like we said, had the huge catch at the end of the game, the 45-yard dime from Brock over Tariq Woolen. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought Ricky played really well. It clearly has found some confidence with Brock, and I think the preseason hype is real, and I think he will be the wide receiver 1 for this team.
Oh, 100%. He'll be the wide receiver 1, and on 2 or 3 plays as well during the game, he was open, but Brock just checked it down or threw to Tonges or whoever it was on the offense. But he's going to be huge moving forward. I could see him getting between 6 to 8 catches a game, especially with the wide receiver room now being pretty shot. Now, your competition per se is like Russell Gage, MVS, and now Kendrick Bourne after signing that 1-year deal. But Pearsall is going to be massive, I believe. I think Purdy's going to look to him a lot more. He might be looking for him to get like 10 targets a game, because he provides a threat down the field like anyone else on the team right now who isn't injured. So I believe he's going to be massive and the number 1 priority for the Niners to get going on the offensive side of the ball. But when Brock Purdy airs it out and trusts someone like that down the field.
Get Slick Rick going. And it wasn't an easy matchup. Devin Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen. The Seahawks have a really good defense. They have a really good secondary in particular. And now Kendrick Bourne is joining the team, is likely going to be, if he's ready to start come week 2, is probably going to be very much in the Niners wide receiver corps. It's probably going to be him and Saleh. He does the majority of his work in the slot. We saw it in 27 through 2020 when he was the Niners main slot receiver. It's great to get the band back together. I'm not sure how much of a needle mover Kendrick Bourne is, but he's filling a position of need that the Niners desperately had. And small deal. He can make upwards of $5 million if he hits his incentives. And more importantly than anything, it's just a guy that Kyle Shanahan has chemistry with. He enjoyed his time playing in San Francisco. Yes, Jimmy Garoppolo was his quarterback the entire time he was in the Bay, but he is a guy that just knows the scheme, knows how to operate a Shanahan offense. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if he has 500 receiving yards by the end of the season.
You're right. Shanahan loves having guys who know the system. Kendrick Bourne is one of those guys, playing with him from 17 to 2020, starting the Super Bowl as well. And it's the same reason I think he signed McKivitz as well. And another reason why I believe Saleh is so happy to be back and not deal with all the BS and with the Jets anymore too.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I bet he's so happy to have the pressure of New York relieved.
And the curse of the Jets too. I mean, like that franchise is like I live in New York. I have a lot of friends who are Jets fans, and like I feel like every single year and every single game, you don't think it can get worse, and it somehow does. Like you had 2 years ago, the peak of the franchise. You get Aaron Rodgers to come through, tears his Achilles before he completes a pass, comes back next year, is terrible. This year they're up against the Steelers, first time since 1991 that they have a first half without punting the ball, and they still blow a 9-point game with 8 minutes left. A little bit of a side tangent. Sorry, I know we're talking Niner football now, but I'm sure Rob Saleh is certainly happy to be away from the Jets, back in San Francisco. What did you think about the defense, about his kind of imprint on how they look so far?
I thought that was as well as they could have played, especially with all the new guys on defense as well. With all the rookies, especially like in the secondary, they performed incredibly for the most part. They got consistent pressure on the Seahawks O-line and towards Sam Darnold. And I mean, Fred Warner's all over the field, as always. Like D Winters, that looked the most promising to me.
Absolutely.
As the guy who's replacing Dre Greenlaw. And we all know Dre Greenlaw was amazing with the Niners. That was one of my favorite players, especially on the defense. But Saleh's got those guys playing hardball. And he was making huge plays in the backfield too, stopping runs and getting big hits on Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet, and the wideouts, just making plays all over the field. I thought it was very promising. In the secondary, Pinnock is one of the most underrated players in the league, especially as a veteran safety. And Upton Stout, aside from that one penalty on Cooper Kupp in the end zone, thought he played fantastic. Renato Green had a huge pass breakup on Smith and Jigba that would have got the Seahawks a first down on like 2nd and 19 or whatever. But they played extremely well.
Yeah, Siegel.
I love the way they played.
And Winters, like you said, I think were the two highlights for me. Both had 6 tackles, multiple tackles for losses. Stout had a penalty in the end zone where they ended up scoring their first offensive touchdown. But this is a guy making his first career start, and he has Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith Jigba as his don't want to mispronounce that one, as his guys he's going up against. 2 elite slot receivers, probably Cooper Kupp the best slot receiver of his generation, and then JSN is slowly emerging into a true bona fide wide receiver 1. So yeah, really pleased with kind of the cast of characters who are stepping into those roles, like D Winters replacing Dre Greenlaw, Siegel replacing Tolono Hufunga, and really like giving up 13 points to a Seahawks team, which I know is kind of going through a transition with Sam Darnold, but has a lot of offensive firepower in the running back room and receiving corps. And I think it was awesome. I mean, I don't want to bury the lead and not talk about Nick Bosa, who made the play of the day at the end of fourth quarter while the Seahawks are marching. They're on the 12, 13-yard line, look like they're about to score and win the game. He ends up driving Abraham Lucas into Sam Darnold, forces the fumble, doesn't get credit for the forced fumble because he didn't directly cause it, but recovered it. Game sealer, ended the game for the Niners. Was an unbelievable way to end the game, and was really like, felt like you were watching Rob Saleh football, where it's just violent. Everyone's getting after the football. What did you think about Bosa? Is he going to be the team MVP this year? I think he has to be for them to be a 12, 13 win team.
I think it always starts with Fred Warner in the middle of the field, going sideline to sideline in pass coverage. But Bosa has to be huge, especially with Saleh. He was flying all over the field. Yesterday there was a screen pass, and he recognized it immediately and tackled, I believe it was Kenneth Walker, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Got a negative play, and that was massive, especially for him. Sometimes what concerns me is on the rush. He doesn't clog up those lanes at all. He's so keen on the quarterback that he'll just allow a gap sometimes on that right side, which does concern me. It concerns me with a lot of pass rushers. Parsons does the same thing now with Green Bay, but that's the one thing that can concern me with Bosa on that side. But like actual pass rush, has to be one of the top 3 in the league, in my opinion. But sometimes it does appear that he takes plays off, and I've seen it like over the past few years. Looks like he sometimes just like gives up on a play. Like you see a guy like Max Crosby. Max Crosby, as much as I don't like the Raiders, that guy goes after, like, gives 110% every single play. But I guess that's the concern with Bosa, and he needs to be the very least co-MVP with Fred Warner. And as long as he keeps doing what he's doing on the pass rush and giving it his all, he's also got to be more effective in stopping the run as well.
I agree with you there, and I think that's what I'm hoping Mykel Williams turns into, is like he doesn't project to be a 15, 20 sack guy like Bosa is, but I do think he's going to be kind of clogging up the middle and is able to kind of run out both on pass down and your typical running downs. We didn't see much Alfred Collins. We saw a little bit of CJ West, Kalia Davis. Collectively, though, the Seahawks don't have a good offensive line, but I felt like the Niners defense was constantly, maybe not making Sam Darnold see ghosts like he was in New York, but he was certainly under duress the entire game.
A lot of it was with a 4-man front too, which is big, especially getting the pressure in those early downs. That just backs up the defense. That is absolutely massive for a team who last year they didn't get that pressure on the quarterback.
No, absolutely. And especially last year, like under Nick Sorensen, they weren't able to get pressure with 4. If they're able to get pressure with 4 and you have Fred Warner and D. Winters manning the middle of the field, and then a continued growth out of the younger secondary. And we didn't even talk about D.D. Lenore, who didn't allow a catch when being the primary coverage. Obviously, we love him as Oregon Ducks, class of 2021. Shout out D.D. Lenore. But he was fantastic. Just want to give one more shout out there. So before we close, I think we got to talk about the elephant in the room. Jake Moody, who has missed 9 out of his last 20 kicks. To me, looks like he's clearly, something's broken. He's emotionally, mentally not there. I don't have any confidence in him. He went out to kick that 27-yarder to tie up the game, or to take the lead in the second quarter against the Seahawks, and clearly missed it. He got the 37-yard one blocked. And then the Niners were just playing catch up the rest of the game, where they're going for it repeatedly on 4th down. And Brock probably has to make that throw to Tonges because they know they have no confidence in Moody. And Kyle Shanahan has come out and said, that's my kicker. We'll reevaluate. They clearly are kind of in limbo right now. I think it's time to just pull the plug, say goodbye. I thought he should have been left on the tarmac in Seattle, but it seems like he's still on the roster as of now and looks to be playing against the Saints on Sunday. What do you think? Am I crazy, or is it time to just cut the bait on Jake Moody?
I feel like everyone knows he needs to leave. Like he should have been left on the field in Seattle and just walked his way back to wherever he'll be next. If he goes back to Michigan where he played college, I don't know. But when I was watching the game, obviously he missed the first one, and then he got his kick blocked on the second field goal attempt. And the third one, like, where he actually made, I couldn't look. I was in my chair and I turned my chair around and I wasn't looking, and I was just waiting for my friends to say if it went in or not.
And if it was 5 yards further, it would have not gone in because that ball was tailing right, and you could tell it was like, thank God he made that one because he would have been booed off the.
But they're Shanahan. I mean, Shanahan and Lynch, but Shanahan especially. He's just trying to validate the pick,
the third round pick on a kicker.
The third round pick.
Yeah.
It's. You just gotta let go.
At a certain point, when is it a sunk cost? And just say, like, look, we messed up. We really did not take advantage of the 3-year window where we used all those first round picks for Trey Lance, and we used a third round pick on Jake Moody. And yeah, it sucks, but you had Greg Joseph, who was competing against him all at training camp and has had a 10-year career, and is a guy that, like, might not have the leg of Jake Moody and might not be your kicker next year, but as a guy I have a whole lot more confidence in making a kick down the stretch than Jake Moody in 2025.
To be honest, I'll take Greg Joseph. I'll take anyone who can kick a ball between the uprights. That's all they need.
Has someone called David Akers? I know he's probably like 50, 55 years old at this point, but that was, I think Jake Moody is the most disliked 49er since Kyle Williams. Is there someone I'm missing? Like, I don't mean to bring back up Kyle Williams. I know that's about as painful as a name as I can bring up, but like, he was universally disliked coming into the season. Any social media posts I make on TikTok or Instagram for this podcast, the main comments are, get Jake Moody off my team, fire Jake Moody. And like, for a while I was like, dude, it's a kicker. Like, he's not that impactful, but then you miss kicks like you did last season. It's a little bit of a meaningless. It's like, whatever, but then you miss him this season. And once he actually costs us a game, like, I'm already past the point of no return with this guy, but once we actually lose a game because of him, you're done.
I said before the year, if he's on the team for the whole year, he's going to cost them at least 2 games, because the Niners as a team aren't as dominant like as years past, and there are going to be a lot of close games throughout this whole year. And you just see on the sideline, like, Shanahan getting extremely pissed off with him missing a field goal. And then with Jake Moody, like, I've not seen any sort of smile. Like, he's just as stoic as possible, which sometimes you like as a kicker. But at the same time, like, when you're missing almost like however many, 50%
it's not a stoic
kicks,
confidence. Yeah,
it's a stoic just nervousness. He's just not confident. Ever since when he got in the league, pretty much he just hasn't looked like a confident kicker. So it's time to cut the cord.
Absolutely. Okay, so looking ahead, we have the Saints in New Orleans on Sunday. The Saints are projected to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. They lost to the Cardinals last week at home. Spencer Rattler is going to be their starting quarterback for the foreseeable future until they give a shot to Tyler Shuck, who's also terrible. Niners started the week up as 6.5-point favorites, but in the last 24 hours, George Kittle has been ruled out. He's likely going to miss about a month, maybe put on IR. Jawan Jennings is questionable. He had a positive MRI, but is now getting a CT scan. Brock Purdy is even questionable. Apparently he hurt his shoulder in the second quarter of that game, getting drove into the ground, played through it, which, classic big cock Brock, but he's now questionable, and the Lions now move 2 points. They're only 4.5-point favorites. Give me a score prediction. What do we expect in New Orleans on Sunday?
20 to 14 for the game, but I don't mind Mac Jones if he has to come in. I think I'm higher on Mac Jones than most people, but I feel like he knows how to play the offense, as Shanahan has stated in the preseason, like, in the off season. There is a drop off with Purdy and Mac Jones, but I think Mac Jones can realistically still throw the ball a little bit. Even with the Jaguars last year, he was getting the ball to his playmakers, which is a reason I can see Pearsall having a massive game, even with Mac Jones starting at quarterback this week. So I don't know. I'm still confident in the Niners if Mac Jones has to start this game somehow. Obviously, with Purdy's shoulder and toe injury, it doesn't look fantastic, but I'm still confident in the Niners, at least for this game, and for them to stop Rattler and the Saints offense, but mainly stop Kamara on the defense. That's the biggest thing. He's the biggest threat when facing up against that Saints team. It has been for the last 8 years, but
yeah, they should be able to handle business. I even think, like, without Purdy. I still choose to think that he does play this game and probably doesn't practice most of the week. But if there is ever a week to, I don't want to say punt, but to trust your second stringers to still be able to come out with a win, it would be this week. And like you said, Mac Jones, I had Brian Thomas in fantasy last year, and he was awesome for him because he loves to kind of throw the ball deep. He's not great when he's constantly getting pressure, and I'm a little worried about the Niners' offensive line. He is the guy I, to this day, will always think Kyle Shanahan wanted in that 2021 draft over Trey Lance, and he got bullied into taking Lance. So, it's clearly a guy Shanahan likes and trusts, and we'll see. I'm going to go, since I'm thinking Brock Purdy does play, I'm seeing a 27-13, kind of a blowout. This is not a team they should be competing with if they're healthy, but we'll go from there. Anything else to plug, Austin? We got a Niners next week. Giants are winning some games. That Cardinals series kind of dug their hole, I think. Yeah.
I mean, they'd be a game behind the Mets right now if they won those 2 games, which is really frustrating. But maybe we'll be talking about the Giants in the coming weeks. I hope we are. It'd be so nice to have a playoff game in Oracle Park in San Francisco and to remain really invested in that squad. So I'm excited, but I mean, who knows what happens, especially the last couple of years with the Giants just being mediocre always at the end of the season. Hopefully they get another win streak going.
Yeah, we shall see. Well, good talking to you, man. Go Niners, go Giants. We'll talk soon, Austin.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Garrett.
Yeah, anytime, man. Take care.